Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very glad you're with us. It's December 3rd, 2020, last month of the year. Please note this event is being recorded. It's currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. We ask if you're on Zoom to please use the speaker view. That way, that's in the lower left-hand corner. That way, you can adjust the size of the speaker and the PowerPoint presentation by, with that little red arrow, is you can grab those white lines and drag it back and forth if you're on a PC or Mac and make things work the best for you. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, we will be using the chat box and the participant box. So please have those available. We'll ask you to click on things. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat box. That would be wonderful. And for those people on Facebook, if you have a question, please just enter your question in the comment field. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. I also facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We've been meeting since, I've been leading it since 2007. The group's been around since late 1990s. And I'll tell you about our upcoming programming at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. For our speaker today is Carol Brickel. She's a certified professional career coach. So Carol, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, and welcome to everyone. Welcome back from the Thanksgiving holiday. Hope everyone had a good, safe holiday. Getting ready to share my screen. Let's see. Share. And get into slideshow mode.
Oops, I just muted you by mistake, sorry.
Unmute. There we go. Can you see the slideshow okay and hear me okay?
Yes,
great.
Yes. I went to mute me and I muted you. Sorry.
No problem. Yes, okay, good. So we've got a good group today, and again, I want to welcome people, and then during the second half of our session today, we will review a resume live. I've received one resume, and we have a slot available for one other. If anybody would like us to review your resume, you'll get a chance to get some free coaching, and you can take off your contact information off the top if you want to remain anonymous. And you can just send it to me in chat as an attachment. And to get started, let's see, I want everyone to click on the participant box. If you could go ahead and do that, and I'm doing that as well. And if you could give me a green check mark if you've seen one of these Resume Thursday sessions once before, or click on the red X if you've never attended one of these sessions before. So if you can open up your participant box and click on the green check mark if you've been here before. And I do see some familiar names and several people, and we have at least one person who's never seen one of these before. So I hope it's a great experience for you. And also, I'd like you to click on the chat box as well. I'm going to open that up as well. And then I move it over to my other screen so I can monitor the questions that you might have throughout the presentation. And we use it occasionally to ask questions of you to keep it fun and interactive. And so to get started, my theme this week, I thought after the holidays, I wanted to do something kind of fun to wake everybody up. And I thought I'm going to use humor for learning. And sometimes you can learn from humor. So we'll do a little bit of humorous stuff and then sharing resume mistakes. So my opening question to everyone, and I'd like everyone to go into chat and type in what's maybe a mistake you've made on a resume that somebody's pointed out to you, or a funny thing you've seen on sample resumes. What's something funny or wrong that you've seen about resumes in the past? Or if you've been a hiring manager in the past and you've been looking through resumes, what have you seen? One time I saw one, I think it was 8 pages long. So everybody go into chat and just type in a few words about mistakes you've seen or heard about on resumes, or mistakes to avoid, or anything funny. Not seeing any comments yet. We've had a few more people join us. And for those that have joined, during the second half of this presentation, we'll have an opportunity to review one more resume. I've received one and I have time to review another one. And this is really, I think, everyone's favorite part of the session, to do an actual review of a live resume. And you can take out your contact information and send your resume to me in the chat box. You can attach it as a file. Good. Good, thank you. Some people are writing in some either mistakes they've seen or heard about on resumes, or funny things. Somebody either saw a resume that had a misspelling that spelled a not so appropriate word. Okay, that's funny. That's good. And hobbies not really tying to the position. Yeah, just the other day I was coaching somebody and I said, take off cooking. You know, it's like off of a resume that doesn't really add value. Okay, great. Good. Okay, and several of you have attended the session before, and so you've seen my background. I've been a hiring manager for many years at an IT firm called EDS that was acquired by Hewlett-Packard, and then I took early retirement in 2012 so I could get a job as a recruiter, so I could learn how it really works out there. So eventually I eventually wanted to become a career coach, which is what I've done now, but I wanted to get that experience walking a mile in the shoes of a agency recruiter and a corporate recruiter to see what it really feels like. And boy, did I learn a lot. And that helps me in providing tips for people that I'm coaching. And I've placed people in a variety of different roles: HR, accounting, finance, IT, project management, sales. And then I volunteer every week for the Dallas Pit Crew, the practice interview team, where we help people practice their interviews. So it's wonderful that you all are working on your resumes. I also encourage you to spend an equal amount of time practicing for interviews, because you don't know what it feels like to answer some of these questions till you say it out loud. And so many times I've coached people and they said, yeah, when I started to answer that question, I knew I shouldn't be saying what I was saying. And sometimes you don't really feel it until you practice it. So we've shared some information about the Pit Crew in the chat box if you want to sign up for a mock interview. And then I'm also certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And I mentioned I worked for a recruiting agency. Most recently, I worked for Next Step Recruiting, which is a wonderful family-run staffing agency in the very far North Dallas area. And they have been busy. And they're always looking for good candidates in IT, especially programmers, and then also accounting, finance, HR types of positions, and occasionally some marketing positions, and even some of their clients need recruiters. So if you meet any of these requirements, or in general, accounting, finance, HR types of positions, if you want to send me your resume, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I can get you connected with the right recruiter. Okay, good. And I see that some people are sharing their contact information in chat to network. That's great networking there. Good. Good. And with target companies, it's always good to share that, because you never know who might know somebody at one of your target companies. Good. So our agenda today, in the first part, we'll review some information regarding applicant tracking systems. That's always a big topic or question that people have. And then we'll learn a little bit from some humor and review some top resume mistakes. And we'll review information regarding key components of a resume. And then we'll review some, we have one sample resume. Yeah, we just have one so far. If anybody else would like to share their resume with me, you can send it to me in chat. You can take off your contact information if you wish. Then we can look at a real live resume real time. And that's very valuable for all of us to look at real live situations. So to review some information regarding applicant tracking systems, these are the systems when you're applying online, they're reading the data in your resume and parsing that information and putting the data in their database with the name, job titles, companies you've worked for, and the dates. And so you don't want to use any special characters, any special boxes or lines or formatting that can throw off the parsing process. And you don't want to use the header section in MS Word because it won't read that data, especially the Workday system will not read it. But you do want to ensure that the keywords in your resume align to the job description. And you can use jobscan.co. That's a tool out there, .co. You can compare your resume to a job description to see how good of a match you are. And then often these systems allow you to also upload a resume as an attachment. And when you upload it as an attachment, you may want to keep it in a PDF format to protect the formatting of it. And then you also have the opportunity often to upload cover letters. When I talk to recruiters, we don't read those much anymore. We don't have much time to do that. But if they ask for it, and if you want to submit one, I just wouldn't spend much time on it. And we do have a very easy sample format that you can use. And I just was coaching somebody actually just a few hours ago and helping with a cover letter because he was applying for a job where he met some of the skills, but not all of them. And so he kind of wanted to emphasize the strengths he does have in a cover letter because he had a referral to that particular job. So it was worth a shot, worth spending just a few minutes on the cover letter to, give it a shot. So, okay. And then somebody sent a sample resume. Yay, good, thank you. We'll take you up on that. Good, thank you. Okay. And then also several weeks ago in preparation for one of these sessions, I talked to a former colleague of mine who now works at Workday, which has an applicant tracking component of their system to get information regarding applicant tracking systems and how they really work. And many of them, including Workday, give you an opportunity to upload your resume and then review the data to make sure it got parsed correctly. And sometimes these systems will read your summary section and think it's your most recent job. And so sometimes you have to clean that up a little bit. And if your name says comma, MBA or PMP, you may have to clean that up as well. And then, yeah, text in the header or footer won't get parsed, won't get read by those applicant tracking systems. And LinkedIn, if you use a hot link URL on your resume, it won't read it. In fact, it'll kind of mess up the parsing process. So just keep that as plain text on your resume, not a hot link. And then recruiters then can sort and search through the database as needed based on criteria. And then sometimes the match may be determined based on a questionnaire or a third-party assessment. Sometimes companies, you've probably seen, have third-party assessments. And yeah, give me a green check mark in the participant box if you've ever, applied for a job with a company and they've sent out either had a survey, maybe it's 5 key questions or an assessment. Give me a green check mark if you've ever had to do that when you've applied for a job online. See a few green check marks. Yeah, a lot of companies are doing that, and some have not seen that happen. But most people have seen those little questionnaires. And that's a way for companies to screen and prioritize the candidates, because often when we would post a job opening, we'd get like 300 candidates when I worked as a corporate recruiter. And then this friend of mine that works at Workday said, be sure to customize your resume to the job because the recruiter may look at it. And then regarding these ATS systems, you want to keep the big picture in mind. You're probably getting conflicting information about all these different systems because they all act a little bit differently, and each company can customize them differently or configure them differently. But keep the big picture in mind. You basically want to upload a resume that has no special formatting characters. And if you can, review the information once it's been uploaded, and then also contact a person at the company to let them know that you meet the requirements and let them know the job requisition number. So when I say contact a person, what I recommend is contact somebody you might know at the company. You can search on LinkedIn for people you know at that company And then your chances go up to almost 50% if they can refer you to the recruiting organization. Your chances of getting called for an interview are only like 2% if you don't contact a person. Another option is to contact the recruiter who posted the job. Sometimes on LinkedIn, about 1 out of every 10 times, you can see the name of the recruiter. Give me a green check mark if you've ever applied for a job on LinkedIn and you can see the name of the recruiter for the company. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's good to reach out to that person and let them know you meet the requirements for the job. Yeah, I'm getting a couple green check marks there. Good, good. And then if you don't know the name of the recruiter, then I recommend going up a level to the manager of the recruiting or talent acquisition organization. They'll get you in touch with the right recruiter. And you'll hear from some people, especially agency recruiters and some career coaches will say, oh, go directly to the hiring manager. And when I've worked as a corporate recruiter, I had hiring managers come walking down the hall with me saying, Carol, I got another one of these resumes. Can you screen them? I don't have time to look at them. So it depends. And you may want to try both approaches. I find that the recruiter's job really is to screen the resumes and then present the top 5 to the hiring manager. Okay, good.
Carol?
Yes.
What is the difference, if any, between someone who says their title is human resources or talent acquisition? And do you prefer to contact one versus the other?
Very good question. Thank you for that. It depends on the size of the organization. If it's a very small company with maybe 10, 20, 30 employees, the HR person might be the recruiter too. So it might be okay to talk to the HR person. Now, if it's a bigger company, several hundred people or thousands of people, they probably have an HR organization. And within that organization, they probably have a recruiting or talent acquisition leader. And if that's the case, you want to work with that person. So, but if they're a good HR manager and you happen to reach up to them, they'll probably forward your resume to the right recruiting manager. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes. So, so it kind of depends on the size of the company. But if they have a recruiting organization, that's what you're really targeting. Looks like we have a third resume suggestion. So we may or may not have time to get to it. And if we don't have time to get to everyone's resumes today, you're welcome to follow up with me. Okay, good. Okay. All right, now we're gonna, since it's the first week after a holiday, we're gonna do a little bit of humor here. And there are learning points with these cartoons. I found just a few cartoons that I thought were funny. And they appeared to be free comics. They don't have any copyrights or anything on them. So I'm using these. And this one, the guy says, no luck. My resume had 3 typos and he's applying for a job as a proofreader. And when I talk to my recruiting buddies and we compare notes about resumes, we all agree that as we have reviewed resumes, we agree that about 90 to 95% of all resumes we look at have some sort of error on them, whether it's a typo, misspelling, inconsistent verb usage, and I'll show you what I mean by that, or even spacing issues. So be sure that you have no errors on your resume, because that can be a real showstopper, and that would be sad not to be interviewed for a really great position because you left out a couple spaces or had a couple extra spaces that threw off the formatting. So I'll fall into that. And then this one's a funny one. Your resume looks good. However, I'd limit it from the 17,000 pages down to 3 from now on. And when I talk to my recruiting buddies, they typically say 2 pages is kind of the sweet spot. But yeah, you definitely don't want a big long resume because when I was a recruiter, it felt like this. When I'd look at a resume that was 5 or 6 pages long, or even 3 or 4 pages long, it felt like this. So, and then here's a guy that says, I want my resume to be the one you remember. So we added lots of funny bells and whistles to it. And recruiters and hiring managers don't want lots of colors and fancy fonts and boxes and columns. They just want very clean data, but we just want to see that you meet the requirements for the job. We're scanning for keywords and key accomplishments that align to the job. So I thought these were funny little cartoons, but they each of them has a teaching point. And then now we'll talk about some of the common resume mistakes. As I was researching for this presentation, I looked at numerous websites about common mistakes, and they all repeated themselves. They're all about the same. And so I combined a few into this top 10 list. And the most common is spelling and grammatical errors, especially verb tense, with jobs in the past having verbs in the present tense. Be sure to fix those. And using an unprofessional email address. At the top of your resume, you want to include an email address that looks professional, that has your name, rather than carollikeskittycats.com or something. You don't want something silly. You want something that uses your name, and you may have to add some numbers or something to the end of it to make it unique, but make it look professional. And then failure to demonstrate and quantify results. So, and we'll show you how to do that. And then too many buzzwords and overused phrases. Don't say things like hardworking. Everybody needs to be hardworking if they're going to be looking for a job. Don't say detail-oriented. You need to be detail-oriented in nearly every job. Those are overused phrases. Now, sometimes in a job description, they might say something specific, like they really need somebody that can work in an ambiguous environment or fast-paced environment. If they do mention something specific like that, that might be okay to incorporate that word maybe into your opening summary. But in your areas of expertise in section in your resume, you want to focus on true professional skills that they're looking for in the job description, not these overused phrases like team player, quick learner, those types of words. Recruiters are getting very tired of those. And then you want to make sure your format or design is not too elaborate. You don't want to cause the recruiter to have to think, okay, where is everything on this resume if it's 2 different columns and lots of different colors? You want to make it very easy for them to find information, because they may spend between 5 to 10 seconds looking at your resume. And I think the average is 7.4 seconds based on the studies I've read. And so you don't want too much text. Less is more on a resume. You want to keep it clean. You want to make your skills jump out. You don't want to cause a recruiter to have to slow down to read a paragraph. And then don't use first person. Don't say, I did this, I do that. You want to write in the third person in your resume. Now in LinkedIn, in the About section, you may use first person, but on your resume, use third person, professional. And don't say references available upon request. You don't have to put that on a resume. That's a separate process. And then a common mistake is to not customize to match the job description. You do need to customize your resume, tweak it slightly for the keywords for each job you're applying it to. You don't have to spend a lot of time, but just spend a few minutes. And then be sure to include your LinkedIn address in the text kind of format, not a hot link. So those are some of the common resume mistakes. If you have any questions about those or any comments or any additions, feel free to type those into chat. Okay. And also I want to make a quick mention of master resume. In fact, Jeff, if you'd like to say a few words about this, I've learned a lot about this concept from you.
Well, I think if you want to make your job search easy, once you get going, you should make yourself a master resume that has everything you've ever done since high school, and include high school jobs if they're relevant to what you do now for internships or something. And you put all the information in there, the month, the date, the year, you put supervisors, you put addresses, you put, everything that goes on, 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 bullet points if need be for each job. And if it's 10 pages, 15 pages, 20 pages long, whatever it is, once you've done that, then every time you see a job description, then all you have to do is take that master resume and start deleting everything that's unimportant that doesn't relate to the job description. I'm sure that everybody's done a lot of really great things, and there's things that you're proud of and you want to talk about. But if they don't ask for it in the job description, don't put it on your resume because you're trying to get that phone call. And you want to make it easy for the recruiter to say, I'm looking for this. Oh, this person's done all this and be done. So, and then that way you can just keep building your master resume over time. And you never have to sort of go back and think, wait, when did I do this? Or when was that? Or, oh, I forgot about that story.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And I find as I'm coaching people, sometimes I'll see a very detailed resume. I say, this is great, a great start for a master resume. Now let's get it focused on the job that you're applying to. So yeah, that's great. And sometimes what people will do, especially, sometimes I talk to people that are good at maybe two different disciplines, like project management and product management, which are two different things, but sometimes they've done both. And so sometimes I'll have them create a master resume of everything they've done, and then create a version that's focused on project management and highlighting project management accomplishments. And then maybe another one highlighting more of the product management. So they may have two different flavors that they tweak then when they're applying for various jobs. So, that's a great concept and helps people. So here's some overall characteristics of good resumes. I'll review this, and several people on this call have seen this before. Your goal is to make it easy for the ATS system and screeners and recruiters and hiring managers to see that you're a great match for the job. So you want the formatting to be clean with lots of white space. You want to make it easy to read. Overall length, sweet spot is about 2 pages. In some cases, highly technical jobs, government jobs, you might go on to a 3rd page or so, but 2 pages is preferred. And then number of years. Can we do a polling question, Jeff, on this one?
Oh, let's see if I have it set up. I don't know.
And if not, we can do it in chat.
I keep forgetting to set it up. Sorry.
No problem. We can do it in chat. So everybody, I'd like for you to go into the chat box and type in A, B, or C, depending on which option in terms of the number of years that you like to show on your resume. If you like to do A, show all of your experience on your resume, or B, show the most recent 10 to 15 years, or do you like to show C, where you focus on the recent 10 to 15 years and then have a section that says prior relevant experience and just list the company names and titles. And what I find is a variety, and that's true. When we're talking about resumes, you'll get lots of different advice from different people, and you have to decide what works best for you. I'm sharing my opinion based on my experience, and some of it you may take as advice, and some of it you may say, no, that doesn't work for me, Carol. So you just have to choose what works best for you. And I just see a variety of different answers here. So one option is to show all of your experience. I did that when I applied for a job at the age of 59 and a half, but they all knew me and they knew I'd worked at EDS forever. So I just showed everything. So that worked for me. And I got the job, but that doesn't work for everyone. And then as a recruiter, I saw a lot of resumes where they would be chopped off after the most recent 10 years. And the job titles would be like director, VP. And I'm like, was there anything else prior to this? I wondered. It looked like it was chopped off. And then there'd be confusion sometimes during the interviews when I would ask a question. They'd say, oh, a long time ago when I was at such and such company. And I'd say, well, I don't see it on your resume. They'd say, oh, that was so long ago. It would just cause confusion, and actually it sounded a little negative. So the other option is to have a section at the bottom of your resume or towards the bottom that says prior relevant experience, and list the company names, especially if you think you may refer to them, or if they're in an industry that's important to what you're applying for, list the company names and your titles. And so that way you're sharing the full story of about your background, but not going into all the details. And I found that hiring managers like to see kind of the full story of the person. Otherwise it looks like what got chopped off. Yeah. Okay.
Can I address Dino's question here? He said I probably would get them confused when we're talking about multiple versions of resumes. He said I tried that and ended up with dozens of versions. Well, yeah, you're going to have, technically you're going to have a different resume for every job you apply to, because no 2 jobs are usually the same. They're always slightly different. They always want something a little bit different on their task or whatever it is. So you're going to want to have customized resumes. So what you need to do is you need to save that resume as the job, that, the name of the company you're applying to and the date, so you don't confuse the multiple resumes. And that way, when somebody does call you up, you can quickly go back and open up that resume to know what it was that you sent them. So, when you end up, you're going to have dozens of versions. You should.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's a perfect answer, Jeff. Is so you have to come up with your own naming system, resume or your name. I would say something like Carol Brickel resume. And if I applied at IBM today, I'd say IBM 120320, and then just keep it in my resume file. And it would be a big file, but you'd have them. And we'll show you an example of how to modify it. And you can see how important it is. Because if you don't, then your resume won't come up to the top of the stack and a recruiter won't call you. So, and a hiring manager would look at your resume and see that you don't meet the requirements. So it's worth the time to do that. Good. If you have any further questions about that, let us know. And so here's some of the key components of a resume. You might have additional components like certifications or publications, speaking engagements or something like that. But these are some of the key components. So we'll walk through each one of these. Good. And so in your heading, you want your name and contact information. You don't need to include your physical street address anymore. You don't need to do that, but definitely your phone number, city, state, closest big city, state, and zip code sometimes helpful. Sometimes recruiters are searching on zip codes, and your professional looking email address and your LinkedIn URL. Your summary profile section. This is very important. And this is the part that you'll really want to make sure you tweak based on the keywords in the job description. I say can be, and I need to change this. Should be or must be modified for each application. And the areas of expertise, the ones across the top and the ones in the first column, really need to align to what the job description is looking for. And then this section is optional to include key accomplishments, a summary of your key accomplishments over your career. And I find this most often in jobs that are very target oriented, where you're showing a track record of results and accomplishments, like in sales and business development. Most people in sales jobs need a section like this. And then the rest of your resume, kind of you're highlighting your accomplishments on the jobs that you've had. And this is the section where you want to be very careful about your verbs, because jobs in the past, all the verbs all need to be consistent and parallel in that past tense. And I've seen so many resumes with verbs ending in ing, present tense ending in s, and some ending in ed, past tense. So you want to make sure this is very clean. And then also we've had guest speakers talk about the importance of including a one-line description of the company name on your resume. So if you have room, and especially if you've worked for smaller companies, where it would be helpful to include a brief one-liner about the company name is a good thing to do. We've heard several people mention that's important. And then in your professional experience, you want to limit the number of bullets per job. You don't want to have 15, 20 bullets, because nobody's going to read that. And you should focus on the headlines, the results. It should not read like a job description. And when I say focus on results, this is a way you can do this by asking yourself, so what? Give me a green check mark if you've heard this, the so what game before. So go into the participant box and hit the green check mark if you've heard about the so what game. So this will be a review for several people, but it might be new for some folks. And this was an actual situation when I was coaching somebody who was a business analyst about his resume. He had a pretty neat bullet where he said he developed Visual Basic programs to automate the conversion of data. But I said, so what? What was the result? What was the outcome? What was the benefit to the company? And then he thought a minute and he goes, it did it resulted in reducing the data migration time, eliminated errors, and increased the client confidence. So he ended up using those verbs, which were stronger verbs, to focus on the results of what he was working on. So he rewrote that bullet to say, reduced data migration time, eliminated errors, and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So that's an example of how you can ask the question, so what, to get to the real result. And then you can rewrite your bullet points with stronger verbs. And then how many people, give me a green check mark if you've worked for a place, a company that changed their name of the company or merged with another company or were acquired. Has this ever happened? So somebody's giving me a red X, somebody's giving me a green check mark. Yeah, so a couple of people has this happened to. I'll jump to the solution for if the company's changed names. Here are a couple different ways you can do it. You can give the current name of the company followed by the old name or the old name with the date of the acquisition. So when I retired from HP in 2012, I said HP Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, or I could have said EDS acquired by HP. I could have done that. I'm going to go back to what I was talking about here. And here I'm going to ask you to give me a green check mark if you've ever had multiple roles at a company. So if you've ever had multiple roles within a company, give me a green check mark. And a couple of people have done that. Okay. So what we recommend here is to show the full time that you were at the company, to show that longevity. And then for each job that you have, just in parentheses right next to the job title, don't write justify these, but just next to the job title, put the time that you're in those job roles. Because otherwise, if you have those dates right justified for those jobs, it looks like you were a job hopper, and it takes the recruiter a couple minutes to or several seconds to figure out, oh, that was all in the same company. So you want to make it very clear that you worked for that company and you progressed and maybe were promoted, and that tells a very nice story. So that's what we recommend there. And then also you want to be sure to list your education. And don't say bachelor's if you didn't complete your bachelor's, if you're in the bachelor's program for a couple of years. So don't say bachelor's degree. Just say coursework in engineering or something like that. But certainly if you do have a degree, state your degree and the major and the school. And then also software skills, especially the software that aligns to the jobs that you're applying to. Okay, now I'm going to annotate here. And this illustrates a job description on the left for a business analyst job and a resume on the right. And every time you apply for a job, I recommend spending just a few minutes to really study the job requirements, read what they're looking for, look for the keywords, and make sure you're including those keywords on your resume. So in this job, they're looking for somebody who can document business requirements. They're saying that way up front. Make sure you're saying the same thing. They're looking for somebody who can improve processes. Make sure that if you've done that, that you're documenting that. And be sure to read the bottom part of the job description that might say something like qualifications or requirements, or here's what you bring to the job. Look for what they're looking for. And in this case, they're looking for Agile and Scrum. If you've got that included on your job description. If you've got, if they're looking for Microsoft Office, list it on your resume. It may sound silly, but do it. You'll get extra points. You're matching keywords. And if there's any other software, like in this case, Visual Studio, list that on your resume. It really just takes a few key minutes, and it's very important. And that way a recruiter will look at the resume and go, wow, yeah, they've got Agile, they've got Scrum, they've got business requirements, they've got Visual Studio. Well, those are the 5 keys. Yeah, that's what recruiters say, the 5 key skills. You want to make it easy. And sometimes by going through this exercise, you determine, oh, maybe this isn't the best job for me to apply for because I don't meet hardly any of the requirements. So, so it's an important exercise. And I spend, as a career coach, I spend the most time with my clients studying these types of situations and studying how to quickly update a resume. I just did that on a call this morning. Somebody's really struggling with looking at a job description and struggling with how to update their resume. And we just made a few tweaks to the top and actually a tweak to the title. We made their titles a little more generic, broader, that aligned more to the titles that they're applying to. It wasn't stretching the truth at all. It was just kind of rewording it and so that it fit more with the job description. So it put the resume in a much more area of strength. So, okay.
I think people need to remember that your resume is not a legal document. Your resume is your job application is a legal document. So just remember that, you need to put the correct job title on a job application, but then you can put in parentheses what the company is calling it, because you could be chief people person. And what does that mean at one company versus another company? You need to make that generic title when you do it, on your resume so that people will find you.
Right. Yeah, often, companies have strange job titles. It's something that HR put together in their compensation and job code system. And it's okay to use more generic job titles that are more known in the industry and align to what you're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not lying. There is something wrong with that. Okay. So we're going to look at this resume, which I think was tweaked. We looked at it before and it was tweaked a little bit. What I'm going to do is scroll through the resume real quickly.
We don't see it.
You can't see it yet?
No, we only see the
okay. Sorry.
The page. There you go.
Can you see it? Okay, good. Thank you. Because my screen looks the same. It's funny how Zoom works. Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down this resume. And for those in the audience, if you see things that you like about the resume, then please type in your comments in the chat field. And if you see any suggestions for improvement, feel free to type those as well. So we have the name and some contact information. And looks like some professional experience, education, and it all fits on one page. Okay. And I guess my initial comment is there's a lot of experience here. I think it would be fine to go on to 2 pages and give yourself a little more space, because this does look a little shrunk up together, because it all the contact information and the title and the summary are kind of shrunk, and there's not an area that says areas of expertise with bullet points that highlight key skills. So I recommend taking more space up top and having a few more bullets, because you worked at this most recent firm for a great long time. And I would have 4 or 5 bullet points with major accomplishments on that one. And then the next job, you work a great amount of time there. I'd have several bullet points, because people aren't going to stop and try to read this 4 lines here. So let it go to 2 pages. And I worry about this border that could throw off. That's one of those formatting things that could throw off the parsing system in the applicant tracking system. And Clifton strengths, it's okay to list that maybe at the bottom of the resume. Often these words aren't the first key requirements in a job. So you want to use this valuable real estate at the top of your resume for more professional skills that you find on the resume. If you want to include the strengths finders, you could maybe put that at the bottom of your resume. Okay. And somebody did make a comment that the border, could be an issue with some ATS systems, and that is correct there. Good. Yeah, in this situation, you chose to show all of your experience, and you know, and you had good longevity at these jobs. So that, I think that does show some great things. So you have education and some additional education and a patent. Good, good. Any other comments on this or questions?
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 pages will work out very well, and that would allow you to allow him to put a few extra bullet points to really sell what he does. Remember, your bullet points really need to be not more than 2 lines. So, you know, if you've got something that has multiple things in here, you probably, if you can break it up into a couple bullet points, that would be much better.
Right. Yeah. Somebody's not going to stop and try to read this paragraph. They just won't. They really read. And I've heard some recruiters refer to the 3-word test on your bullet points. Or a recruiter may just read the first 3 words. they want to see the verb and what you did, you know, just the first 3 or 4 words. So I would work on this a little bit. So let us know if you need if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Good, good. So thank you for sharing that. Good. And we'll move along to the next one. It'll take me a second. I'm going to pull it up. And then I have to click on new share. New share. Okay, can you see this resume? It's on my other.
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's on my other monitor for some reason. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, so I will scroll through this resume. And let's see if I can see the chat box. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, I'll scroll through it. Got name, phone number, address, and you want to include your LinkedIn and major city probably as well. Program manager achievements, and then professional experience. Okay, okay. These bullet points, those fancy, they're nice looking. You don't want to use those for your ATS version of your resume. Those can throw off some of the applicant tracking systems. And I'm seeing a lot of different font sizes here. Yeah, I would, oops. Clicked on something and the screen share went away. Let me try that one more time. Hopefully you can see this. So this is a little bit more of a functional achievement oriented looking resume. I do know that most hiring managers do like to see the professional experience. And this does have that. So that's good. One thing that confuses me a little bit is the use of bolding. And the use of italics and the non-italics. So there's a little bit of, I would make the text more consistent. And usually the top line, I recommend that to be bold. That kind of anchors the line. And maybe this, what I would do is maybe not, well, maybe bold, but italicize maybe that's what I would do. Not italicize. I wouldn't use some italics and not italics in the same sentence. And I would do this. And you don't need to have these parentheses in your dates out here because your goal, again, is to keep it very clean, easy to read. So you can take off those parentheses. So to make it kind of pop, I would make this bold. And that's a great way of referring to the company name, and it was formerly Dell. Yeah, that's great. So I would do that kind of formatting. And this, yeah. And here's where you use the 1-sentence description of the company name.
And there really isn't any results. It sort of says, especially that first one there, it sounds like this is your job description. It doesn't tell me what kind of results you had.
Right, right.
So need to play the so what game.
Yeah. So I think the results might have been more up here. So,
But people are going to want to see the so what's with a job. They're not going to want
with
to
the
see
job,
they're not going to want to see the so what's on the first, at the top. And plus, it's too many lines there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines for a transition manager. Not more than 3, 4 at the most if you were going to do that.
right, right. Yeah, because these aren't anchored to what the job is. I mean, if you want to highlight 3 major achievements, highlights that are related to the job that you want to apply to, maybe 3 brief bullets, but then you want to go into your professional experience. And as Jeff said, you want to have result bullets under each job. So I would spend more time or have more information about these jobs and less of all this, because this takes up the first page. So that's the feedback I've gotten from hiring managers, that they want to see what you did related to the jobs. It's kind of a neat summary though. What this could do, you could use this information for a 1-page executive bio. And Jeff, if you do you happen to have that?
Yeah, I'll put in the chat.
Template. Yeah, we will send in chat a sample 1-page executive bio, and you could use this information if these are the key words for the jobs that you're applying for. If they're looking for people that are quality oriented, program project manager, relationship builder, if they're looking for these things, you can put those on your executive bio, and you can use your executive bio when you're doing informational interviews and networking with people. So I think this is useful information, but in a different type of document. In a resume, people want to see a little bit more about the work you did at each one of these jobs. Okay, so hopefully that's clear about that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Now, we are very lucky today. I've got another one.
And while you're doing that, I also in the chat box, I put the sample T cover letter and the sample resume format that we talk about. It's also in there for you to be able to modify along with the bio. So there's 3 different documents you can go and download.
Great, thank you for doing that. And we like to share our templates with everyone to give you some tools to walk away with from these sessions. So here's another resume. Thank you for sharing this one. We've got a couple minutes. We can look through this real quickly. Yeah, you took off your contact information off the top, which is fine. And let's see, I'll go ahead and scroll through real quickly. Work experience. Okay. Education, volunteering. Okay. Okay. And one heading I've seen rather than volunteering is community leadership. And focus on things where you've really led something and things that are impactful, things that would show skills related to the job. And be careful of showing too many things, because as a recruiter, I'd look at that and say, wow, you're too busy to work on this job. So be careful about that. Even though some of them in the past, there's almost an equal amount of space given to the volunteer work as to the job. So I would worry about that a little bit. I would pick out, I mean, maybe just say Toastmasters and don't, this certification is actually that's good. I would list that. That's kind of a long time ago. Marathons are kind of neat. That shows perseverance, grit, which is like the attribute that shows success. So
Head back up to the jobs a little bit.
yeah, sorry. I got stuck at all the volunteering since it had so much space.
Right. I would pick 9 summary qualifications or whatever.
Yes.
Take 9 things. That's a bit too many. Also, after product sales specialist, you're a doer. I mean,
No.
unnecessary. I don't think you need to say I don't need to say manager, trainer, writer. I mean, just put the job title of what you're applying to up there if that's equal to what you're applying for.
Right. Yeah, you would pick one. Yeah, and you would never use doer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And active listener, that's one of those buzzwords that you do not want to include on your resume. Recruiters are getting very tired of, everybody needs to be able to listen. Yeah. And
Public speaking, presentation skills.
only if it's required in the job description.
Right.
Yeah. And Microsoft Office Suite, that would be in a software, and Salesforce, that would be in a software skills section.
Right.
Okay.
You don't need the months with the years. You can just put down 2019 to current,
Right.
or
That would make it
2000
cleaner.
and move Dallas, Texas after the title. You don't need to center that.
Right. Yeah. To make it pop a little more. There's different font sizes. Times New Roman.
That doesn't really bother me. I like the fact, it explains who they are. I mean, if you didn't know what
Yeah.
chapter it was.
I'm just wondering, Calibri is sort of the one that's recommended now. I'm just wondering if that makes it a little cleaner looking. And Calibri, I think that makes it look a little cleaner. I don't know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think it does. So I would do the Calibri. Yeah, because this, I get distracted by the squirrely thing, the serif things on the Times New Roman font. And this gets me confused. This whole thing here, because the bullets start later. This looks like, I don't know if there's a way you can put your job title and then put these again in parentheses next to the job title, not right justified. Because you were at this company this full time.
Right. All those other little titles all those other dates need to be moved in.
Yes.
Right after the subtitle. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Okay. And this kind of confuses me. I would just list the job title, vice president, and you don't need to put with 2 direct reports. Because what if you're applying for a job that has 20 direct reports? Yeah, you don't need to put the number right there. And maybe there's a bullet point that says, well, yeah, this confuses me. There's a heading with a colon, then another heading with a colon. So yeah, this needs to be reworked. So maybe talk through this with somebody to rework that. Okay. I think, oops, I've used up all my time. Thank you for sharing. But you can see, I got distracted by this volunteering thing. You do need to minimize that and really focus more on the job qualifications and maybe add a summary 3-line paragraph at the top. So, okay.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. Hopefully that was useful.
Yeah, it's the first time we've done 3 of them like this, but yes, we got hung up on volunteering. Well,
Yeah.
This is Carol's LinkedIn page. If you want to link in with her, please do so. But please, please, please always send a personal note. Tell her that you saw the presentation here, that, that's why you want to link in with somebody. Always send a personal note. Let's see here. For those people on Facebook, if you want the sample cover letter, the T cover letter, the sample resume, and or the executive bio, send me a email to webmaster@careerfw.org and I will get that sent out to you. Tomorrow at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're going to be doing open forum as we do the beginning first Friday of every month. We always talk about whatever you want to talk about. So come with some questions, some issues that you've got in your job search, things that have popped up, and we will answer those questions for you. Next Tuesday, our LinkedIn presentation will be with Kurt Vondermatter. He is a professional recruiter. He spends around $20,000 a year with the professional recruiting package from LinkedIn. And he's going to show us from the back end what he looks for and how you show up on his back end when they're looking to hire, when he's looking to find somebody. So it's always a very interesting presentation to see LinkedIn from the back end because we never get to see that. On Wednesday, we'll be continuing our special guest speaker series for Interviewing Wednesdays. distinctive interviewing with Walt Glass. And then in January, we will start back with our 13-part workshops on interviewing. All these sessions have been recorded. This session will be on the Career FW Facebook page. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel in the next couple hours. I'll get it uploaded. Please follow us on Facebook. Every time we go live, you'll get a little alert on your phone, and follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll get a little email saying, hey, here's what just got posted. It may be of interest and you may want to watch it. We've posted over 140 videos so far since COVID started. On YouTube, it looks something like this. It's the Career USA YouTube channel. You click on the green arrow, it says playlist, and then underneath, don't click on the video, but if you click underneath where the red arrow is, where it says view full playlist, up will pop all the different sessions, and then you'll be able to find out what we've talked about, and you can go back and view every session. So please remember, Career FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I'm a volunteer, Carol's a volunteer, neither of us get paid to do what we do. We just love to help the unemployed. We're here to help you land your next great opportunity. Carol's volunteering with Career FW to present today. Career FW has no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations to help pay for what we need to do to keep continue on, so we can continue to provide this kind of programming for everybody. Please consider making a donation. Next time you land a job, it would be very beneficial. It will help us to continue to do what we're doing. And if your company happens to offer matching donations, please look us up. Allow your donation to double in value. If you don't see our name on the list, please contact me and I will get our name added as we've done in the past. And thank you very much for joining us today. I know we're a couple minutes past 2 o'clock, so thank you, Carol. Everybody have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow or one day next week.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, everyone. Have a great day.